We're back, people. What is up? Another stream going over some Miami Dolphins, I think, potential breakout candidates in 2025. Some guys that I just see basically having better years. Definitely going to be taking a look at that, guys going into their second year. I think that's where you can see some jump up, some potential third-year players. And they're just guys maybe you brought in, similar to last year when you had guys like Jonnu and Brewer take jumps. We're looking for players like that, and we'll go through guys who I think one that I think have a good chance of that happening, and then some other guys that I think there's some potential there for breakout. And I just want to go over some stuff real quick of things that were happening today with the Dolphins. Barry Jackson reported earlier, about an hour ago, he said, per source, Rasul Douglas quietly visited Dolphins headquarters last week, which I thought was interesting. So as we talked about, I've talked about Douglas being a very likely option. He doesn't really fit the whole new man type situation, but they run what they were running last year. He was one of the best fits, but they did not come to terms. They did make an offer, but now Douglas is visiting Seattle today. So we'll see, continue to monitor that situation. Should be pretty interesting. Go here. Boom, boom, boom. What's up, Mario? How you doing? Then one other thing. Oh yeah, Dolphins posted a fun video today where we actually got to see at least a little bit of action. Let's watch it. Get to see Tua making a throw. Obviously nothing too crazy, but I do feel like his mechanics look obviously solid in this one shot. Nothing really to write home about it. It looks pretty much as similar as last year. I think he changed up his base and some of the elbow stuff. You can see it kind of from that over-the-top angle with how he's doing it. It seems like what he was doing last season with his release. Throwing to Ezukanma there, you to see some of the new guys, older players moving in action. Jalen Wright, 86. I'm not sure who 86 is actually. There's Ollie Gordon catching the ball. Ollie Gordon, I might make a video on Ollie Gordon just like showcasing some of the receiving ability because he is a consistent hands catcher. There's Taj, I believe. I think Taj is wearing 83 now. D. Eskridge in 82. Just nice to see the guys in action. I feel like we don't always get to see everything from Dolphins social media. Obviously nothing too much to take from those videos. Do the schedule release tomorrow? We'll see. I might go live for the schedule stuff tomorrow. Depends what actually happens. But yeah, I might go live for that. What's up, Elwood? What's up, Teddy? But yeah. Also, some other things I want to mention. I've seen, because the whole NBA draft lottery, I've seen the Dolphins beat reporters, multiple of them kind of pushing for the NFL draft to do a lottery. I just want to say I think that is a horrible idea. I don't think you should ever, for anything competitive, especially sports, like competitive sports, you should be adding something that makes it more luck and random based. Plus, the whole thing is it's supposed to be there to stop tanking, which I don't think it changes any of that. And then the NFL, tanking's not really a thing in the NFL because every player and coaches are fighting for their jobs. Maybe there's someone in the front office that's kind of hoping they lose a game, but there's no teams are actually tanking. And we see it every season when someone has the first overall pick and then they win a meaningless game. So I just wanted to say that, put that out there. NFL draft should not have a lottery. I think it would be horrible. Also, this was posted right here. Let me show this. But basically, this is the miles that were traveled. That will be traveled next season, 2025, 2026. Dolphins are in I think they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I believe a third of this is their Madrid game because that also was something that happened. The Dolphins will be playing the Commanders in Madrid this season, which will be interesting. I believe it was week 11. So I'm wondering that will mean a week 12 bye. Ollie Gordon, yeah, Ollie is a good pass catcher. He's not a route runner or anything, but he's got very reliable hands. I think I read a stat that he didn't really drop anything. Don't quote me on that, but I don't remember seeing any drops on films. But yeah, it is interesting. I've seen rumors. I've even seen a rumor the Dolphins are playing in the Steelers week 1 in Pittsburgh. I don't know how true that is, but a lot of these rumors I've seen posted have been confirmed because that Washington game was rumored a little while ago. Yeah, and there's the whole NBA lottery thing of people think it's rigged because of the whole thing that happened with the Mavericks and then getting the first pick when they had a 1% chance or less. But I don't know. I'm not a big NBA fan, so I don't really pay too much attention. But I just want to say, NFL draft lottery, no thank you. Yeah. And a couple other things I wanted to mention. I've seen this brought up more and more. And because I think ever since Pickens was traded to the Cowboys, I've seen the wide receiver duos thing brought up. Like, who are the best wide receiver duos? And obviously, for like the last 3 years, it was always Tyreek and Waddle was like brought up as number one. Now, after last season, they are pushed down a little bit, and I can understand that. But I do think recency bias is a hell of a drug. Because I understand putting like Chase and Higgins over them and like Brown and Devontae Smith. But like the reason Tyreek and Waddle didn't produce as much last year was little to do with them and more so to do with the nature of the offense. One, they were dealing with some injuries. Tua also missed the most games he's missed in a while. And the offense in general just wasn't clicking. They couldn't run the ball. So it was very one-dimensional. So I just feel like, one, I want to stop. I feel like I've seen so much disrespect for Waddle. If there's one narrative I need to stop related to the Dolphins, I'm stopping the Waddle disrespect. I will do whatever I need to do. Because I've been seeing people say like they're saying Pickens is better than Waddle. They're putting Xavier Worthy over Waddle already. And I'm just like, I feel like people aren't watching the film. When you watch the film on Waddle and has some truly dominant, consistent plays. There are some, nitpicks to have with his game, but I mean, if Tyreek wasn't on the team and he was used as a wide receiver one, he would put up crazy numbers. Even like they're saying Devontae Smith is way better. I think Devontae and Waddle, the conversation is close. I love Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith is great. But it used to be like, oh, you could argue either way. Now it's like they don't even give him a chance, which I think is wild. Also, I need to stop arguing with people in the YouTube comments because I've been arguing with someone. I've had a few people say it actually, where they think Ewers is better than Tua. That is it's just, I got to stop these narratives because they're crazy. Like, just that sentence alone, like, it's fine to have question marks about Tua. I mean, I have question marks about Tua's game in certain categories, but the whole Ewers over Tua, just I can't make any sense of it because Ewers like has the same weaknesses as Tua, but Tua just has his strengths are a lot better at this point. Yeah. Yeah, that's true, Teddy. But yeah, I wanted to go through this. That's kind of like just some of the quick stuff I wanted to talk about. Yeah, some potential breakout players in 2025. Feel free to leave some names in the chat if you guys have suggestions. But I want to start with the second-year players, the guys we brought in last year in the draft. I kind of want to start with that group because that's kind of usually where you're looking at, like, the draft classes. Marina 0.2. That's good, Elwood. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at because I would look at the other draft class. It's like 3 years removed, but the Dolphins before that really didn't have much of a draft class. So I'm going to look at this last year's draft class. One, I don't think we need to talk about Chop too much. I feel like Chop showed a lot last year. Like, his breakout was basically the second half of last year. Now, I do think he can improve, but I don't think it will be like a breakout type thing. I saw I think it was some site said he was going to have a breakout season. I think he already showed that he was a breakout player. Maybe he'll break out in the eyes of the national media, but in my eyes, he's already kind of had his bit of a breakout. He could get better, but I don't think we're going to see like a breakout because he's already quite good in my opinion. The next player, the one where I think Patrick Paul, I think is one of the biggest question marks going into this season because he has insane physical and athletic profile. For a guy of that size that can move that well, the length, all of his question marks are like technical based, maybe some things due to processing. Like, I think he could take better angles, but I think he showed a lot of improvement from college to year one. That makes me feel that he can still show improvement. Now, I'm not expecting a full-on breakout. Like, I think he's going to get better and be solid. Like, I think he's going to be a solid level tackle in the system, but I don't think I'm going to expect a breakout and probably until year 3 for Paul. Just because I still think he has a lot of growing to do. So I'm not going to go for him as breakout. He could be one of the surprises, but I'm not going to put him as the candidate. I think the next couple is where I think we could see some breakouts, especially when you consider like draft capital. A breakout for like a 6th round pick is them having like a good season. A breakout season for like a 2nd round pick is them being like great and improving a bunch, Paul, Jonah, and Daniels all have serious question marks against them. Paul, Jonah, and Daniels. Yeah. I mean, I think Paul probably has the biggest question marks in terms of play, at least in terms of like growth that you need to see. I think Jonah has some question marks too. I've mentioned them. But I do like Jonah. I think he still has a pretty good floor, so I'm not like super concerned even as a rookie. Daniel's question marks are Daniel's question marks are pretty much the injury stuff. That's where it's at. I mean, even Austin Jackson, he has those question marks too, the injury stuff. Your O-line, pretty much everyone outside of Brewer at this point, I think, has question marks. And Brewer was a last year breakout, which I feel like Brewer, even Brooks was kind of a breakout. He was already pretty good, but like he kind of broke out with the Dolphins. I loved the Brewer Brooks edition. I don't know if they have that quite in free agency. We'll get to the free agents that we brought in this year. If I think they could have a potential breakout. I don't see anyone to those three level of Jonnu, Brewer, and Brooks. But there are some that I could see having like some minor breakouts where they have their best seasons yet. But yeah, going back into the draft class, one of the players that I expect to have the biggest breakout, especially when in terms of just like the way I've seen people talk about them in the Miami Dolphins fan base, is Jalen Wright, the running back. I think he's going to have a breakout season compared to last year. I think you got to see the talent at a certain point last season, but didn't get to see the consistency as they still were rolling with guys like Mostert and Achane. And I think the biggest thing is your O-line, at least the starting O-line. If the starting O-line stays relatively healthy, especially your guards, it is much improved on the interior. And you should be able to run the ball at a much better rate due to blocking. And I think that was the biggest, and it wasn't just a Wright problem last year. Mostert's numbers were down. Achane's running numbers were down too. So I'm expecting Wright, probably more than anyone on this Dolphins team, to have a breakout season. I think he'll be your 1B. I think Achane will be your 1A running back, but also I expect Achane to get a lot of work as a receiver in this offense. So that will give Wright even more opportunities as a pure runner. I know I've seen people have high expectations for Ollie Gordon. They think he'll take over as the running back too. Personally, I don't see that happening. I think he'll be your running back 3. Chop Robinson. Yeah, the reason I don't have Chop as a breakout, because I kind of already had his breakout happening last year. Just because of how much he improved from the first half to the second half, like how much more can he break out of my eyes? He would just like, for him to have a breakout season, he would have to have a season where he's like the top like 5 edge in the league all year, which is possible. That would be considered a breakout, obviously. But like he was kind of playing as like, at least as a pure pass rusher, he was playing as like a top 5 pass rusher. If you go based off like his pressure percentage, his pass rush win rate, like he was in that top 5-6 range in that second half of the season. So, I mean, if he keeps that, that's kind of just on par for what I'm expecting. But I think Jalen Wright is probably one of the players I'm expecting the biggest upgrade from year 1 and year 2. And I think a lot of it also has to do with the O-line. And I think he is kind of getting underrated. And then we'll continue with the rest of that draft class. Another name, you just mentioned him, who I was about to talk about, was Kamara, Mohamed Kamara. He didn't really play all at last year, so he is one that you kind of like have to potentially could see. The reason I think you could, I expect more from Kamara in year 2. I do not expect a breakout though. I think he's one of the names to definitely keep an eye on. But I'm going to say I don't expect a breakout, but I do expect him to be at least more involved. Like last year, he didn't really get to be involved at all. But I would say, you know how like Quinn Bell made an impact last year? They're not the same players, but think of like Quinn Bell's impact as an edge last year. Like he made some productive plays versus the run, productive plays in coverage. I don't think Kamara will be a coverage type player, but I think I can expect a similar level of productivity. Like when he comes in, like he'll make solid plays. But I don't expect a full-on breakout because there's just too many guys in front of him. Yeah, they have some injuries, so maybe he'll get more playing time than expected. But I'm expecting just more of a rotational role where like he actually sees some snaps throughout this year. If Phillip would that be considered a breakout? I guess it would. It depends. To me, sacks are very... it depends on the sacks, because sometimes sacks numbers can be misleading. I think when it comes to sacks, it just depends on how you get your sacks. And for me, I'm super high on Phillips just as a player. Like, I already thought Phillips was breaking out before his injury. But yeah, I think you could consider it if it's that crazy. you're just hoping Phillips stays healthy. I hope Phillips stays healthy. I love Jalen Phillips. He's one of my favorite players on the team. I think when healthy, he's one of the most talented guys. It just sucks with the injury stuff. I don't see the hype with Wright. All he looks like he's more potential, in my opinion. I don't see that personally. I think Wright pretty easily has more potential. I could see if someone because Wright is insanely explosive. Like, you don't see that level of athlete, especially in his build. Like, he has a good build for a running back and is very, very athletic. So I think his potential is through the roof. I think Gordon has potential to be a solid player. I think Wright just has the potential to be very good. Who's the biggest breakout candidate of Armstrong, Weiss, and Baldwin when they make the team? I think the most breakout potential would probably be Armstrong, in my opinion. I think Weiss might have the higher floor of the players, but I think Armstrong has the higher ceiling. And then Baldwin. I'm not expecting Baldwin to make the team. I love Baldwin, but I'm hoping to keep Baldwin on the practice squad. That's where I'm hoping we can keep him. Maybe rotate some people around, but I don't know if they're going to keep 6 receivers this year. I've kind of looked at it's early, so we'll see how the 53 plays out. But I think they might keep 5 receivers, just looking at what they need to keep at other spots. So it'll be tough for a lot of these guys to stick around. But yeah, rest to this. So yeah, Kamara, I think will be better in year 2, but I'm not expecting a full-on breakout. Who do we got next? Malik Washington, one of my guys. I'm expecting a semi-breakout of Malik. I don't think it's going to be a full-on breakout just due to his position on the roster. I think it's going to be very tough for him to break out in terms of putting up crazy numbers production-wise. But I'm expecting Malik to have a step up. I love Malik Washington. I think he's a good player. And I wouldn't be surprised if he just truly takes over as a wide receiver 3. I think him and Nick Westbrook are both breakout candidates in terms of having their best career seasons. Nick Westbrook kind of broke out last year. If you watch the Titans film, he had his career year. So Nick Westbrook's a little more interesting because he kind of had his breakout year last year, but I just don't know if there's enough opportunity for them being behind Tyreek and Waddle to have true breakout seasons. But I do think they will both be better than people think. And if injuries happen, or maybe you trade Tyreek or something, they will get a lot more opportunities. But I'm expecting to see a bump up from Malik. Probably one of the more year 1 to year 2 bumps out of the guys. Now, Mick Morris. Honestly, I'm gonna say I kind of am expecting a breakout season for Patrick Morris because he didn't get to play at all last year. So this is a prime breakout candidate. He had a really good preseason, didn't get to play at all. He's at the perfect spot position-wise just due to the safety room. You don't have you have some guys in there with some injury histories at the top. You don't have anyone with super high-end talent. I think at some point in the season, he's going to get a chance to play, and he's going to take a starting job and be solid for you. Which to me, if he has a solid season, that's pretty much a breakout because he hasn't even really played. He was a 6th-round pick. It's tough to put that type of stake on a 6th-round pick, but I don't know. I just have a good feeling about him. I wouldn't even be surprised if a Trader is kind of like that too. It's kind of weird to say a breakout for a rookie, but I could see that happening with Trader. I like both of them. I've talked about I want to see the young safety plays, give the kids a chance. But yeah, I think McMorris, I'm expecting a breakout season for Wright. I think McMorris has it too. That's probably the top 2, and I think Malik will just be quite a bit better. They also had Taj Washington in last year's draft. I don't even know if Taj is going to make the team. I hope he looks good in camp and stuff. But I don't really have the expectations there. It's tough that he got injured. But yeah, those are kind of the top guys from last season. Then you look at the rest of this roster. I'm looking at the receiver room. I don't really see any other potential breakout candidates. I think Ezek Konma's going to go to the practice squad or just get cut and leave. I think Eskridge will be a practice squad player that gets elevated throughout the year. Maybe the UDFAs kind of have a breakout. I think we talked about a little bit earlier. I could see Armstrong making the team and then maybe playing and being a little more productive than people expect, especially for a UDFA level player. But yeah. O-line, I don't really see any breakout candidates on the O-line. I talked about Paul earlier. I think Jackson is what he is at this point. He already kind of had his breakout moment a couple years ago. I don't expect him to see him rise up. Same with any of the backups. Brewer broke out last year. I think Jonah's going to be solid. I think Daniels will be good off the injury, but he's kind of already, a vet that's kind of already settled into his career. Tight end rooms, I don't really see any breakout candidates in the tight end room. I think Conyers could make the roster and has a decent chance of that, but I don't see him making like a breakout season or anything. Nothing at QB. Nothing else at running back that I haven't mentioned. D tackle. I think Jordan Phillips will be a lot better than people think. I don't know if that will be considered a breakout season because, he is a rookie, but he's a 5th round guy. So I don't know if people are expecting super high expectations in year 1, but he is one of the guys that I actually expect to contribute as your 3rd guy pretty quickly. And I'm going to make a video. It's going to come out on Saturday on Jordan Phillips. Like I'm making another video on Jordan Phillips because there's certain players like Jordan Phillips, Kenneth Grant, some things that I've seen like narrative wise be pushed about them. Like I've seen people talk about Jordan Phillips' pass rush ability, and I actually think he's getting underrated. So I'm making a video just on his pass rush stuff and why, it's because he has 0 career sacks. So people look at the box score and think, okay, so he has 0 sacks. He's not a good pass rusher. But he actually was quite consistent. Like his pass rush win rate at D tackle, especially playing nose, was at 16.7. And one other thing that Greer even mentioned is when he was at the Shrine Bowl, they were very impressed with his pass rush stuff at the Shrine Bowl because he changed up his stance and stuff. So like he had a different stance at the Shrine Bowl. I'm going to make a video on this and show all the details of it, which helped him like with his get off and like with his pass rush ability in general. So that is something like with a different stance and also just his alignment. He played a lot of nose tackle. When you're at nose and one tech, you get a lot. It's just less room to work with your angles. There's a guy on both sides of you because you're at, you're lined up over a center. You got, there's a guard to one side, guard to the other side. There's not a lot of space to work with. So it's hard to be a consistent pass rusher in the middle, but I think, the stat numbers really kind of underrated him because he did get a lot of pressure. There's a lot of times of like him hitting the QB, basically getting what would be a sack, and the QB just tosses it away and barely gets a throwaway as he's hitting him. And he won the rep very quickly. Like, as good as a rep as most sacks would be. He just didn't get the sack in those situations. Let's see. Okay. Let me see what you guys are saying. Can any of the new UDFA make it as a kick/punt returner? I would say Baldwin is the best chance for that. Monterey Baldwin, the Baylor receiver. I think he's really the only one I would look at that with that type of ability. Like kick return, punt return. I don't think anyone else really has that sort of skill set. I don't know if he will make it because of that, but yeah. Conyers, yeah, I hope he makes it as well. If we keep 3 tight ends, which I think is very possible. We've kept 4 before. We've kept a mix of 3 and 4s throughout McDaniel's tenure. There was even a year we kept 2 for a little bit. We rolled with 3 most of the year. Last year we kept 4. I'm thinking just looking at the rest of the roster, they're probably going to keep 3-ish. They could keep 4 though. I'm hoping Conyers makes it, even over Julian Hill. I don't know if the Dolphins will actually do that because I think they really like Julian Hill. But yeah. I want the Dolphins to really hit on a draft pick this year. I mean, they'll definitely hit on some draft picks this year. Not everyone will be like super over the top. Who in this rookie class has the highest floor and who has the highest ceiling? Highest floor. Interesting. Highest ceiling. I would say Grant has the highest ceiling. Like, I think if every player in the Dolphins class hit their ceiling, Grant would be the most dominant player. But I also think like they're all like kind of high floor, high ceiling players. Because like Grant, I still think has a high floor, and he was a 1st round pick. I just think he also has a super high ceiling. Like he's only scratching the surface. I think Jonah has a pretty good floor as well, and still has a high ceiling. Phillips has a pretty good floor for what he does, and still has a high ceiling. I'm trying to think who the high floor is because it really has like high floor really has to be either Jonah or Kenneth Grant. I don't think it's any of the rest of them. I mean, maybe you could say Ollie Gordon has a pretty high floor out of those guys for what he is, but honestly, it might be Kenneth Grant for both. Kenneth Grant might have the highest floor and the highest ceiling, which is a boring answer. D. Eskridge for returner. Yeah, I think they were talking about UDFA guys for the returner stuff, but yeah, Eskridge for sure is in the running. Yeah. Okay, where was I at though? Okay, But yeah, the D tackle room. I don't really see like obviously you have like your top three right now. I feel like are Sealer, Grant, and then your top four are Sealer, Grant, Phillips, and Benito Jones. I don't really see any breakout candidates there because you have two rookies that I'm expecting pretty solid stuff from. But like it's hard for I don't know. I feel like the term breakout doesn't usually work for a rookie unless they like insanely play above expectations. Like when Puka Nakua was like a dominant receiver right away and he was like a 5th round pick or something. So unless Jordan Phillips was like dominant right away, which I think, is, that's a like unfair expectation to have. I do think he'll be better than most people think right away, but I don't think anyone here's a breakout. Like obviously Sealer's not a breakout candidate. He's already broken out for years. Maybe in the eyes of the national media because he's so underrated still. I don't think Benito Jones is going to break out like he is what he is at this point, and I don't see any other sort of breakouts there. Same with Zeke Biggers. Like I think, he might make the roster, might not, but I'm not expecting too much. Then we get to edge. We kind of already talked about some edges. I wouldn't be surprised if like the breakout in camp is like a Grayson Murphy. I'm not saying he's going to have a breakout season, but like if he had like a breakout camp, because I think Grayson Murphy has some really good pass rush potential. Like I like his usage. I like his bend, his flexibility. I like when his film at UCLA, it sucks he got injured in the preseason last year because he was finally starting to come on in camp. It wouldn't surprise me if he's like a breakout in camp and he makes the roster. Now I wouldn't have like super high expectations in the season just because that edge room is so stacked. Like I don't know if he'd see a ton of playing time. So it is tough to put the expectations on that edge room. So I'm not expecting that really there. Same with the off-ball linebacker group. Jordan Brooks is like your stud there. I think the rest of them are all like, decent contributors for what they do. Terrell Dotson, Willie Gay Jr., KJ Britt. Like, I think out of those guys, one player I do want to mention, I do think KJ Britt is one of the guys they added in free agency that will be better in Miami. Like, he would do better in Miami than he did in his previous stints. Because I actually thought, like, he was actually pretty, like, hated by the Buccaneers fan base from what I had seen them talking about. So I was expecting his film to be a lot worse just from what I'd seen the Bucs fans talk about him. But I kind of felt like how I did about other players, like not to the level of like Brewer or anything like that. But like I've seen this before where like Brewer was hated by Titans fans. Connor Williams was not liked by Cowboys fans. Jordan Brooks was hated on by Seahawks fans. They told me he was terrible. Now KJ Britt isn't as good as any of those guys, but I do think like he's probably going to be a little bit better than I think slightly above expectations there. I know we're not the only team waiting for June 1st. Any players you hear about to get cut? I haven't seen anything really about the other teams with like post June 1st stuff. It'll be interesting to see how post June 1st plays out because, yeah. I mean, we did bring in Rasul Douglas apparently, and they were talking to him. And he is one of the UDF or one of the free agent corners I would be interested in. But yeah. Okay, where was I? Now this is where we're to the groups, the corners and the safeties. This is where the Dolphins desperately need some breakout candidates. And this is the rooms where you have at least candidates here. Now, I'm not really, like, you have a lot of names here that have the chance to break out. Now, will any of them actually break out? I'm not sure. I wouldn't say I have the greatest faith in any of them. I already talked about McMorris. I think that's one I feel like has a decent chance of happening. But everyone else, like Kohu, I mean, he's kind of the most for sure thing in this group. You're trading away Ramsey. Then we go to corners. We have Storm Duck, Cam Smith. You have Jason Marshall Jr. You have Ethan Bonner. You have Isaiah Johnson. You have Ethan Robinson. You have BJ Adams. Now, I think Adams could be a camp breakout. I think BJ Adams has the chance to be what Storm Duck was last year, where he has a strong camp, he has a strong preseason, and he gets some playing time in throughout the regular season if that's just how things work out. And I could see him playing, decent enough in his press man work. I don't really the player they're hoping breaks out is Cam Smith. I just feel like it's not. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. I would love if Cam Smith proved me wrong at this point. I still think he has some talent, but he's just had so many injuries, and when he has been on the field, it's been just such a mixed bag of stuff. Like he's had some good moments, but most of the time it's him getting beat or getting grabby. Like you can see the skills like with the athleticism, but man, I just don't think it's gonna happen. I would love to see like even Ethan Bonner get some playing time. I feel like out of those guys, like Storm Duck, Cam Smith, Ethan Bonner and Storm Duck, they're like the two UDFAs. They both seen some playing time. And they both made some plays as UDFAs, but they both haven't played a ton of snaps. I just feel like Bonner looked better in his limited snaps than Duck did. But that Bonner did do that in Fangio's system, so that might play a part in it, while Duck was doing a Weaver stuff. So Duck does have that edge up. But to be honest, I could see some of these guys like playing slightly above expectations. I don't really see a breakout candidate in the corner group. I really don't. I think a sleeper breakout candidate actually for the Dolphins is Melifonwu, because he's had his injury histories and he's always had like some decent play, but like it wouldn't surprise me if he's like the main guy, and if he stays healthy, like he actually really takes a step, because I think this system, like he's the one player that I'm looking at that's kind of like, in that vein of last year's free agency, where like the talent's there, you got him kind of cheap because of the injury stuff, and then the fit within the scheme, like with what Weaver asks people to do, and like his sort of like big slot versatility, because he has experience playing corner. He can play as like a big slot match guy versus tight ends. And we've seen like what that, type of player has done in the Ravens style of defense. I feel like if he stays healthy, he's a pretty good shot at being the breakout candidate of the free agent class from last year. And you look at that safety group. I think he's the most talented of the bunch. I think Ashton Davis and Elijah Campbell are fine depth safeties. That's why, like, for me, this is what I'm hoping happens. I think Melifonwu is for sure a starter. If he gets injured, obviously you have to rotate him out, which is likely because he's never finished a full season. I think Ashton Davis and Elijah Campbell should not be just given the third job over the youngins. I think there should be a fair battle where Trader and Mick Morris and even guys like John Saunders Jr. have a chance to legitimately compete for that safety spot. And whoever wins it in camp and you play them. But if the players do not play up to level in game, you start giving other guys shots. Like, say Ashton Davis wins the camp battle, they give it to the veteran just because, say it was close, and he's not playing that well, throw in, the next person. Honestly, I'd rather see Elijah Campbell than Ashton Davis, to be honest. I think Elijah Campbell has always been kind of underrated, but Campbell's still a known commodity to me, so I think you just look at this room and you need to know what you have in it. Like, going into the season after the next one, you need to know what you have in the secondary, because you're probably going to have a complete secondary overhaul in 2026. So you need to know what you have kept there, because a lot of these guys are 1-year rentals or UDFAs, and, or some guys that just didn't quite work out. So you need to know, so I'd be giving a lot of these young guys shots. Which rookie? Oh my God. Thunder. It's storming out. Hopefully it doesn't shut out my... Which rookie or UDFA DB is helped most by Weaver's scheme? Honestly, I think Trader feels like a Weaver pick. I think I even saw someone mention he was a Weaver pick. I don't know how true that is. He also feels like a scout pick to me. But I see Trader translating very well with his versatility and instincts into that system pretty quickly, and he can do a lot. Like, here's the thing. When you look at the Dolphins secondary, what they were doing a lot of last season was a lot of pre-snap to post-snap rotation, and I think Trader is very intelligent in terms of communication. Like, he does a good job communicating pre-snap, and he does a great job of disguising that stuff. Like, you can have him line up down there, but I think Trader has a good fit. I think the corners that they brought, if they go more press man, they'll all have a better fit, because every corner they brought in, Jason Marshall Jr., BJ Adams, Ethan Robinson, out of the rookies, they're all press man guys. But they didn't really run press man last year. Yeah, Campbell's making the team because he's a great special teams player. But that doesn't mean he shouldn't play, like last year when McMorris was hurt, so he didn't really play the whole season. last year with Jordan Poyer and even Holland wasn't playing well. Like, I don't know why Campbell wasn't playing over Poyer. It didn't make any sense to me because I was like, yeah, I'm not expecting Campbell to come in and be great or anything. But like when he's played his limited snaps, he's looked better than Poyer, and at least Campbell can tackle. We know he can tackle and play physically, which the safeties weren't doing. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Campbell's one of the best two safeties of this bunch we have here. Because when he's played, he's been a little bit underrated. And I think Weaver likes him. I think that goes big for him. Because when Weaver would always mention, I feel like Weaver mentioned Campbell in interviews multiple times, and it's always a good sign for a player like that. Yeah, the pass rush is the biggest thing the secondary has going for them right now. Is the strength of your team is your front that can get out to the quarterback. Because I'm expecting Grant, Sealer, Phillips, Chop, Chubb, all to be very, disruptive, dynamic players. That's definitely your strength of defense. Then you have one good linebacker, at least in Jordan Brooks, like at least a actual quality starter. I think the rest of your linebackers are fine, but they're more third linebackers in my eyes. The secondary, that's why I've looked at it. Like if you go to every position on the team, receiver, you have at least two studs. O-line, you have at least a couple players that are like quality players that are like the backbones of the unit. Same with running back. Tight end, you have at least John. D tackle, you at least have a known quantity in Zach Sealer before the draft when you brought in the rookies. At edge, you obviously have multiple of those. Linebacker, you have Jordan Brooks. The only positions where you don't have that really is corner and safety, especially because if you're going to trade Jalen Ramsey. If you don't trade Jalen Ramsey, you have that at corner. And at safety, you just have a bunch of question marks. Corner, without Ramsey, you have a ton of question marks. No, Campbell should be a starter. Yeah, but there's a lot of guys who are special team studs that if they're good enough to play defense, they'll start. I don't think the reason he didn't start is because of special teams. Dude, Poyer was one of the players I probably was least happy about last free agency, and honestly, it was even worse than expected. And I had pretty low expectations for it. Poyer was one of the worst starters last year. I think he was the worst starter from start to finish on both sides of the ball. I'm not even kidding. I think he was the worst starter from start to finish on both sides of the ball. Okay, that might be going a little crazy. Nah, I don't think it's that crazy. I think even players like Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones showed more at some points. And that's kind of sad. Those are the competition, right? It's got to be it was either Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg, or Jordan Poyer, right? Out of the starters, maybe David Long because he got cut, but he got cut pretty quickly. Yeah. Oh yeah, Poyer was an inside plant. Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know. I'm hoping. Really, one of the biggest hopes I have for this training camp and the safety is a position I'm for sure. When we do training camp streams, we're gonna do a lot of streams during the camp season and stuff like that. Safety, this whole secondary, I'm keeping a close eye on, but I'm really keeping a close eye on McMorris and Trader in the preseason. I really want them to get chances. Out of the young guys that are you don't know if they're going to play or not, it's up for grabs, those are two I really want to see get a chance. And if John Saunders Jr. makes the team, he's a UDFA, but I think he was a draftable player as well. It will be tough for him to make the team without an injury just because of the quantity of that room. But if he has a good camp and a good preseason, you got to keep him around. Even give him a chance. Let the kids play at safety. He didn't do it last year, and he should do it. How about Isaiah Johnson? I will say, if the Dolphins are running more press man this year, which I've talked about, I think they are leaning towards that philosophy. There's a lot of reasons I have that theory, and I've even heard it from Reason that he said that he heard that. Some other people had said that as well. That could help Isaiah Johnson's case because he's a long, lengthy corner. He's kind of like in that BJ Adams. He's even bigger than BJ Adams. But BJ Adams was brought in for his press man ability. That would give Isaiah Johnson a potential boost because Isaiah Johnson, like in preseason, they ran a decent amount. That's when they run press man. In preseason, they run basic coverages, you know? So like they were just playing a bunch of press man, and Isaiah Johnson looked pretty good. And if he takes a step up, now I will say it's tough. It's tough for second-year UDFAs. If you're a second-year UDFA and you didn't make the initial team last year, it will be tough for you to make the team in your second year. I do think there's sort of a recency bias with the new UDFAs. Like, you really have to step up. Like, to me, he's going to be more of a practice squad guy again, you know? Like, that, it's just a position you're put in, but... Ryder, you were a safety, Poyer tanked. Dude, I don't know what he was doing out there, I'll be honest. We were talking about McMorris during last year's offseason and preseason. Yeah. I think they like McMorris a lot. So that gives me... I think they like McMorris and Trader a lot. Just from what I've seen and heard. Yeah, Saunders has some good tape. I can understand liking him more than the other safeties, but I would put Saunders slightly below them. But it's close. They're also different types of players. Saunders is weird because he plays a lot of nickel. Like, he played so much nickel corner at Ole Miss, which is, you know, honestly could help out his case to make the roster, give him some versatility. Who knows? Maybe he makes that roster as the last DB and they treat him as like a corner / safety. Yeah. Oh yeah, hit the like button. Always forget to tell people that. Hit the like button. Leave comments, all that good stuff. Join as a member if you want early access to videos and other random stuff. Yeah, Saunders has good on-ball production, good ball skills. He's a former receiver. Jalen Watson would be interesting, but I don't know if he's actually available. I've only just seen someone mention it, but I don't know how true that is. I think we'll hear more about potential trades if it's like, but it would be a post-June 1st if I had to guess. I don't know, but apparently the Dolphins are talking. They brought in Rasul Douglas secretly. Yeah. Yeah, I will be definitely making some video. So I'm going through UDFAs. I still have, there's a few UDFAs I'm probably not going to do film breakdowns on just because either one, I don't have there's like just no film I can find on them. Like there's a couple of them that are like, it's so hard to find film on the UDFAs. And two, there's some that I'm just like, I just don't see it with them. Like there's nothing really to break down. It's just, they're just a body that like they're a camp body. You know, which sucks to say, but that's just the case for some UDFAs, at least in my mind. But some of these guys will be tough. I do have a few more coming. Like I'm going to do, you know, the Michigan O-line, the South Carolina defensive lineman. I got the running back coming up. And then I might do AJ Henning. We'll see if I get enough clips. I might do Rybka from Kentucky. We'll see. But after that, I think I'm going to do some other videos. I have plans of like, I'm going to do a Jordan Phillips video of him doing pass rush stuff because I feel like that's been underrated. And then also Kenneth Grant. I've seen a lot of people just call Kenneth Grant a nose tackle. I'm going to make a film breakdown. I found a bunch of clips of Kenneth Grant not playing nose tackle and being very impactful. I actually think he's more like people think of him as like a space eater because you see his size, but I actually think he's more impactful when he's allowed to be disruptive and one gap and use his athleticism. Like that's when he really gets to show off stuff. And then another narrative, I'm going to make videos on guys from last year. Like I'm going to make videos on guys we haven't talked about in a long time. Like I want to go and make a Patrick McMorris film breakdown again because we haven't seen McMorris in a while. I want to, talk about my expectations for him and players like that. Like even like Taj Washington. I might do a video on Taj Washington again just to be like, oh, maybe he's a sleeper that could, potentially, make it and be more of an impact in camp preseason than expected. But yeah, that's kind of the plan. Also, I might make a video on Waddle just because I need to put the end to these Waddle narratives because some people, for some reason, don't think Waddle's good and I can't understand it. And if there's one player that I want to change the narrative on, it's Waddle. Waddle's a good guy and a very good player with no problems. He doesn't have all these, nonsense issues off the field that some players have. And he just seems like he's happy to play football. I love Waddle. Grayson Murphy's another good shout. Dion, that's probably another one I'll do. I think I have him written down in that group. Let me check. I think he's written down. Where is that vid? Where is it? Yeah, I do. I have him written down in that group. So I'll try to get some Grayson mixed. I want to do it on players that like we haven't seen in a while because they were kind of either they missed last year because of injuries or they were like guys like Taj Washington or Grayson Murphy, just guys that like I think we could see more. We like the potential is there for us to see an impact out of them. Like under the radar guys that we don't get to see talked about enough. No, every noodle. I do not really have any expectations for Easy at this point. I think that experiment ends when they cut him last season and put him to the practice squad. I think that was even though they kept him around, that felt like the end to me of the Zukonma thing. And they brought in guys like Armstrong and let's see what Armstrong and Theo Weiss has. Taj Washington's coming back. You already have 4 guys that are clearly on the roster anyways. Whatever happened to Bonner? Bonner was on the team last year. He just didn't get a chance to play. I don't know why he didn't get to play. I'm guessing, to me, the only reason is I'm guessing Weaver thought Duck was just a better scheme fit because Bonner looked good in Fangio's system, but Bonner just never got a chance. But I would love to see Bonner get a chance. Out of that defensive back group, I thought he showed some of the more intriguing reps in his limited snaps. Who knows? Hey, give him a chance. And I also think he's got some versatility. I've seen him play some safety. I've seen him play some slot. Give him a chance to play different spots. Let's see what you got out of that group. Because that group is not the most talented. Let's see if someone steps up, makes more of an impact than expected, and then you have a piece for the future. And also in that, they'll make an immediate impact because it'll be better. That whole 2022 draft class was a nothing burger. Yeah, that's why I've talked about it. That's why I don't like trading away picks for guys, even for guys like Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill. I think the best way to build your team is through the draft. And when you put yourself in that position where you only have 4 picks, and it was in 2022 and 2023, or 2022 and 2023, you only had 4 picks in each draft. And you pretty much, and they weren't even, you didn't even have a first round pick or a second round pick in the 2022 one. You put yourself in a spot where you're not going to hit. It makes it where you're 3rd or 4th, you got to hit on one of them. Because if you don't, 6, they had a 6th and a 7th, and those got 6th and 7th majority of the time don't hit at all. And they missed on Tyndall and Ezukanma. The other draft was at least a little bit better because you got Achan. The UDFAs, I can't remember who the UDFAs were. What was 2022 Kohu? I think you've hit on more UDFAs though in those years in 2022 and 2023 than you did on the actual draft classes. But that's because you put yourself in a position where you don't have picks. You need picks. I feel like we are sort of disrespecting Ilafona. Well, I just talked about, maybe you missed it, Troll, but I was just talking about Melifonu. He's one of the guys that I think has the highest chance of being a breakout candidate. I think he's the most talented safety of the group. I think this will be, if he hit the biggest question mark for Melifonu was health. He just hasn't stayed healthy throughout his career, which obviously sucks. But yeah, I'm hoping Melifonu, I think if he stays healthy, this system is really good for him. And out of the free agents, I think Melifonu, Nick Westbrook-Akini, those are 2 guys that I could see just having their best career years. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, whether Tyndall stays here or not, it would be smart, I think, for Tyndall to move to a edge pass rush role. Yeah, he might be an undersized edge, but guess what? He can't play off ball. He's always been at his best rushing the passer as a blitzer. That's his role. If he wants to make it anywhere, that's his chance because... Oh no, you're good, Troll. Yeah, I talked about, I would say, out of the guys I mentioned, I think Jalen Wright, I'm expecting a breakout season. Who else? There's some other guys that I think will be better, not quite breakouts, but I'm expecting stuff from some Patrick McMorris, Malik Washington. I'm not expecting super breakouts, but I think they'll be pretty impactful. I think Melifonwu is a name that is definitely up there. If he stays healthy, that's the biggest question mark. Like, he doesn't stay healthy, that's the tough part. How many picks next year, do you think? I believe we have a 1. We have a 1-1, 1-2. We have 2 third-round picks because we traded a 4th-round pick. Remember, we traded our 4th-round pick for a 3rd, so we have 2 thirds next year. It looks like we're going to get a 2nd, 4th. Now, this is very early, but it's for the Javon Holland comp pick. As of right now, we're projected to get a 2nd, 4th. Now, how true that is, I don't know. So, like, you're going to have some picks, because I believe you have, like, a 5th, 6th, 7th. You might be missing one of them, or it's swapped around somewhere there late. But, like, you have, 2 thirds, 2 fourths. You have your 1 and 2. Like, that's a pretty good work. And you also have to consider you're probably trading away Ramsey. You might trade Tyreek after this year, next season, for something. So you'll probably pick up some extra picks. I think you're going to have picks next year. I think that's what the Dolphins plan this offseason. I feel like it's pretty clear. Like, I don't think, like, they got slightly less talented in some spots, but I feel like the real plan was just like, hey, we're going to get younger. We're going to get less injury guys. They still have some injury prone guys, but they got guys in there that are like very, very tough. It was like a mix. You had to get cheap. So they try to get cheap without going too injury prone, which is tough to do. Sometimes you have to, if you're going cheap, you have to bring in some injury prone players and hope you get lucky. And then get younger. Younger was like the biggest thing. They had the youngest draft. They had a very young free agency. Like, a lot of the free agency added were like under 30, which is pretty rare. Like, I think Pharaoh Brown was like the only guy that was like 30, at least like from my memory. Like, at least from guys that will play. Most of the other guys were like 27, 26, 28. So they got younger, and then I think they're putting themselves in a position where, like, next year they'll have a lot more cash to work with, and years after that. So they kind of did like a little bit of a reset mid-season, and pretty much like they stayed either even or got slightly better in most spots, except the secondary. They obviously got worse in your secondary, and now they're hoping they can potentially fix that, or maybe guys step up that you're not expecting to and play better than expected. Yeah, bigger as well, bigger, more physical, and then hopefully they go back to the model of like, hey, you don't need. I like how they've attacked free agency over the past couple of years. They haven't overspent. I think that's the model. You don't overspend in free agency. You get quality players at solid contract prices and guys that fit your system. Guys that will overperform where they played prior. Like when they signed Jordan Brooks and Brewer and Johnny Smith, those were like such good signings in my opinion, because nothing broke the bank. They were all just perfect fits for what you're doing. This year, you brought in guys like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. That's such a good signing. James Daniels. Yes, there's the injury thing, but you got him super cheap because of that. And it's like a huge upgrade of what you had. Like those are like, I like how they've worked free agency. I just think they need draft picks to work with. And I think this draft was a better sign of like them moving in the right direction. But we'll see if they can build off that. Who knows? Because I still have question marks with how the draft picks have been, very up and down over the years. Some good picks, some not so good picks. Jordan Brooks, yeah. The reason I don't put Jordan Brooks in the breakout candidate is because he's already broken out, in my opinion. Like, I already think Jordan Brooks is like a top 10 linebacker in the league. Like, I think Jordan Brooks is very good. I'm a huge Brooks fan. I love Brooks. Pharaoh Brown looks like a good. Yeah, Pharaoh Brown will contribute. I think he'll be a solid blocker for you. I think he's a better blocker than what Durham was. That's fine. He's not going to really give you much else anywhere else. I think if Pharaoh, this is my thing, and I've talked about it. Tight end is one of those positions that I have been asking for. Since McDaniel has been here, I've wanted a tight end that can do a bit of everything. Now, they brought in Jonnu, who completed half of what I was asking for, because I really wanted a tight end that was really good with the ball in his hands, very physical, can take advantage of that space to work underneath, and Jonnu was the perfect player for that. But he missed the George Kittle element where like Kittle could do that, but also was a great blocker. So I was looking for like that Kittle type. You filled part of that with Jonnu. But like I've been looking for someone who could be that type of player. Like I wanted like Sam Laporta in that one class, but we never got a chance to get him. I love Tyler Warren in this recent class. Like I've just been looking to get that perfect tight end fit that can play Y in this system. That is like an actual true all around tight end. We just have not added that. And I think that's been one of the biggest missing points of this system since Mike McDaniel's been here. Like, he's had the receivers, he's had running backs that can do what he wants. He's had different offensive linemen. He had really bad offensive line for a while, but he's had like the right idea at times at O-line. But like, we've never had the tight end outside of Jonnu, and he only did part of what I was looking for. But he's really good at that one part, so it's like Jonnu's great value. So I'm hoping, I'm hoping Conyers can. I just don't see Conyers. I think Conyers is a great fit. I just don't think Conyers is, to that level of like, I want to get like a really high quality tight end, I think he can outperform his UDFA status. I think he's a great scheme fit. But he really needs to show improvement in certain areas for him to be like a true contributor. And Pharaoh Brown's like more of a tight end 3. It's just he's probably gonna be your tight end 2. But yeah. Oh yeah, I was super high on Brewer right away. To me, it's just because people saw that he wasn't the best pass protector. He struggled, giving up some sacks in Tennessee. But I think people just see that and they're like, okay, you gotta like just dig a little bit deeper, find the context, and then put him in the Dolphins system. And it's like he was built to play in that Miami Dolphins scheme of what McDaniel runs. And even the pass protection issue, I talked about, I'm like, guys, the pass protection thing for Brewer, just with how they do their sets, their play actions, it will be much less of a problem. And like last year, it really wasn't a problem. Like, he wasn't a perfect pass protector or anything, but he was never like a main issue throughout games in pass pro. And in Tennessee, like, you also have to think of like how quickly you got rid of the ball in Miami compared to Tennessee, where Will Levis is holding onto the ball for years. Same with Tannehill when he was there. Like, those guys are guys that hold onto the ball, which make your O-line, makes their life a lot more difficult. Like, I remember a Seahawks fan telling me Jordan Brooks was bad because he had a bad PFF coverage grade. But PFF linebackers coverage grade, their grading system is so stupid. They only grade linebackers. This is what I've heard, at least. They only grade linebackers on targeted passes, which is like, usually when a linebacker is getting targeted, most of the time linebackers, are giving up catches because it's like underneath. And like when they're getting targeted, it depends on what you think of as a target too, because most of the time you're playing like as a zone and they're like throwing underneath stuff. So they're only grading targeted plays, and usually when linebackers are getting targeted, it's going to be a catch. It's like the easiest part of the field to get an completion to. But they're not counting plays where like your linebacker's carrying a receiver 30 yards down the field and he's not getting targeted. I'm like, oh, that's a great coverage rep. That's not counting in the PFS system. So it never made sense to me. That's why I'm not a fan of PFF. Seattle cut Craycraft for Ian. I would bring back River but River would be like a practice squad guy. I just don't think there's a room for him with all the guys I want to keep on the starting roster. Do you think Julian Hill is gone? Honestly, if I had to guess, I would guess no. I think the Dolphins really like him, and he did show promise in year 1. His year 2 was rough. But out of that group, he is still probably your most physical run blocker. Now, Pharaoh Brown is your most consistent run blocker out of the tight end group. But Julian Hill is a guy that has like the really high-end physical reps. And I think they really think they can get the most out of him. I don't know. I think if he's your tight end 4, if you keep 4 tight ends and he's your tight end 4, that's fine. But like, I'd rather roll the upside with Conyers. But like, Hill's going to be a better blocker than Conyers will be like at year 1. And then Jonnu's not much of a blocker. How do you feel with the O-line heading this season? I think starter-wise, you're in a pretty good spot. Like, I think this is one of your better starting 5 that you've had. Like, I think if your starting 5 stays healthy, especially within this system, like, they will have a very solid year. But that is very rare. I think behind it, you have horrible depth. I think if you have 4 of the 5, you'll be fine. I think similar to the 2023 season. With the 2023 season, I think the only game all 5 played together, like your original starting 5, was the Broncos game, and you put up 70. Every other game where you had 4 of the 5 starters, you actually had a quality offense. Once you went to 3 and less, or 2 of 5, that's when the offense fell apart. So maybe you get lucky and you have what the Bills get, where the Bills never have any offensive line injuries. But you do have, I don't know, Paul, Brewer, Savania don't really have injury history. Like Brewer stayed really healthy last year. Jonah doesn't have an injury history. I don't think Patrick Paul has an injury history. Now, Daniels is obviously coming off the Achilles. He didn't really have much of an injury history prior to that, but he is coming off a really big one, so that one is one to monitor. And then Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson's the big one. Jackson and like Phillips have had more of an injury history than even Tua. Because Tua's obviously missed a lot of time, but I did see a thing where like he has started 41 out of the last 51 games for Miami. So like obviously he missed some games getting hurt in some of those. But like for some of those guys, like they're missing a lot of games, which is crazy. It sucks. What do you think, Ramsey for my mayor? I would do it. I think that would be great. Like, because I don't think you're gonna need a super high pick for Ramsey. And if you got Mayer, because I could see Mayer going for like a 4th round pick. Like, and I think if you got, and honestly, I was expecting to get Ramsey for like a 5th. So I think it would be pretty good value if you just did it straight up. What's the plan for Engel this year? I'm imagining it's the same thing. I actually wouldn't mind if they started looking, like if McDaniel sticks around, I wouldn't mind if they start looking for like the next fullback up and comer, someone that's a little younger, a little better with the ball in their hands. If you can find that guy, it's very tough to actually find that player. Like those guys are rare. But if you can find someone, like you can find, the next Kyle Juszczyk, I think you should be trying to add that to the team. Because it would just add another dynamic element to the offense. But we'll see. Conyers does have some experience playing some fullback stuff, so it'll be interesting if they mix him in there, but I think Engel will do it his usual role. Yeah, Poyer did injure Phillips. Schlesinger? Yeah, I heard a lot of teams like Schlesinger. I was a huge fan of Schlesinger. I don't know if he would play the Jason Taylor role because I think he can do some stuff where he's getting after the pass rusher, but I do think he is a more of an off ball. I believe the Browns just put Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah on the PUP, which makes a lot of sense why they drafted Schlesinger because I think Schlesinger is like a really good replacement for him. But yeah, Schlesinger. I was like, he's one of the guys like out of the positions that weren't a huge need for Miami. He's one of the guys that I would have been totally down to take at 48 out of like the non-big positions of need, just because I love the talent. You think it'd be worth something to try Julian Hill at fullback? I mean, they could try it, but we've seen Hill get some fullback reps. I think he doesn't look super comfortable there. I don't think he has like, I don't know. There's certain like builds and like way people play, like play style that just fit better. I feel like you have to be a little bit shorter, play fullback. I feel like Hill has that more wide tight end build. Why has Jake not been cut? Who, Bailey? I'm guessing they're going to have a punter battle. That's all reason I can guess. Maybe see if he can outperform Stonehouse. I don't think he will, but at the end of the day, it's taking one spot of the 90. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but he'll be cut eventually, I imagine. Yeah. Any final questions before I end this? Pretty fun stream, pretty quality. Definitely check out the film breakdowns. I should have Nate Noel out tomorrow, the Missouri running back. He's pretty interesting. I think at this point, most of the UDFAs I'm breaking down, I'm expecting like I'm not going to do UDFAs that I think have like no chance of doing anything. But I think if they can be like practice squad guys, like I think Nate Noel could be a practice squad guy. And I can see why they added him. Like he's a clear outside zone back. But I don't know if I see like actual like, roster level talent there. I think, but he has some fun, he does a really good job like with his outside zone reads. Like he's a really good like smart player when it comes to vision on outside zone reads. So you'll see that tomorrow. Engel did not play well last year. Yeah, outside of that, he was injured, right? A lot of the year. That Patriots game, that first Patriots game, he was probably the best game I'd seen him play in a Dolphins uniform, like from start to finish. But yeah, outside of that, he was not very good. What's for dinner? I'm probably gonna cook up some tacos. I got some ground beef. I'm gonna cook up some ground beef tacos. Can you protect 10 guys on the practice squad? I can't remember the exact details, but when you initially cut someone, they can still get claimed and go elsewhere. So that's the risk you do of like the practice squad thing. But if they go through waivers, then yeah, you can bring them to the practice squad. And then I think there's some certain rules with like protecting and keeping people around, but who knows? Are we going to a press defense more than zone? I think we're still going to do both, but I think we're going to run press man at least at least a 10% higher rate, which is like a pretty big, significant jump. I think all signs point to that, and from what people have told me, that is also going to happen. Yeah, there's no one on the roster that can really replace Ingold. It wasn't like Ingold played great last year, but there's no one really that plays that role that well. Like, they would also play it pretty inconsistent. But I don't know. Maybe if they need a roster spot, they'll just be like, F it, we're not rolling with a fullback. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys probably, maybe stream in a few days. Later. Oh, wait, one more thing. How do you feel about the Grant pick? I love the Grant pick. One of my favorite picks. I feel very confident about it. I've gone, if you want to, check out my Kenneth Grant film breakdown. I go like super in depth. But yeah, I do really like that pick. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.